for different platforms. Ayan. Did you stop recording?
Saan yung ano, yung additional?
Alright, okay. Ayan, sige po. So, let's informally start
Kasi itong
my
sleeping
rambling.
pills.
Ayan. So, we are homeschooling and I know that it can be challenging to homeschool high schoolers for the first time. When I say it's challenging is because if you are homeschooling for the first time and your children are high school, medyo may mga mas marami po yung adjustment as opposed to um, parents who are homeschooling their high schoolers pero they have started homeschooling when they were younger. You understand? Kasi kapag nag-homeschool kayo, grade school pa lang sila or even younger, up to high school, wala na kayo halos transition kasi supposedly, lahat ng basic skills and foundational learnings nagawa dapat natin until they are grade 6. Ayan, so that includes, your basic literacy in reading, in writing, in mathematical abilities. Supposedly, natapos sila hanggang grade 6. And by grade 7, okay na sila. Ang problema kapag ngayon lang po kayo mag-homeschool, tas high school na sila, tas nasanay sila sa yung lahat ng instructions ibibigay sa kanila na kailangan may nakabantay na teacher bago sila gumalaw, na kailangan pa talaga nila ng totoong accountability at ng grades para talaga mag-learn ng something new, medyo may mahirap po na transition doon. Kasi homeschooling po kasi is a mindset. And for para matawag mo talaga na lifelong learner ang isang tao, ibig sabihin that the person actually learns, you know, because of the learning itself, not because of any reward, not because of grades or not because of medals or anything. You learn because you know it is valuable. You learn because it is fun. You learn because it is something that will help you understand your world. You learn because it is something that you know can help others. Yun yung actually papunta dapat si homeschooling. It's a very, very different perspective as opposed to a very structured learning. So just to go back to some of the things that if you are attending this for the first time, then I have to repeat. But if you attended the preschool to grade 2 and the grade 3 to 6, some of the things that I'm going to say are redundant to you, but I think it's still worth reviewing. Now, when you homeschool, you are really technically learning 24 by 7. Kung bakit 24 by 7? Kasi pati yung sleeping time mo, yung alam mo na may value yung sleep, kasama sa learning yan. Na dapat matutulog ka at magpahinga. At dahil nga maraming distractions at kapag wala kang sense of discipline, you have Netflix, you have YouTube, you have HBO Max, you have Infinite, marami kasi nakasubscribe yung asawa ko. Pag wala ka disiplina, marami kasi talagang pwedeng gawin. Hindi mo hahayaan yung sarili mo na magpahinga. That's, learning knowing when to stop and knowing when to rest is also part of your education. It's part of the learning as well. Kasi kailangan bumawi yung katawan at the same time our brain. I should tell myself this, no? Hindi ako nanonood, ang dami ko lang ginagawa. But anyway, the learning takes place anytime and anywhere. So, I want to briefly discuss with you the difference between acquisition and learning, which is what I discussed earlier. I'm a linguist, or at least, I'm into language consultancy. That's why I know the difference between the two applied to language, and I think that it is applicable to everything. If something is acquired, yung mga parents, if it is acquired, it's actually stronger kasi it becomes a part of a person. It becomes a part of you. Katulad kunyari nga ng language, the spoken language, it is something that we all acquired because it is something that we have been exposed to and it happened naturally. Kung matatandaan natin, especially for those who have very young kids, uh, yung anak natin from 0 to 4 years old, natutong magsalita yan na hindi natin tinuruan with any structure. So from 0 to 4 years old, from non-linguistic cries to babbling to one-word syllables hanggang sa fluency in 4 years natutunan yan ng mga anak natin. Pag delayed yung speech ng konti, baka 5 years. Pag may issue, yun yung iba na lang kasi yung pag differently abled. Pero the neurotypical child uh, will be able to speak and communicate with you fluently in the first language. Kung Filipino man yan, Pangasinan yan, English man yan, kausap mo na yan by the time he or she is 4 or 5 years old. That's what you call acquisition. So along with language, marami ding mga habits yan na naituturo natin na hindi natin talaga minsan sinasadya. At mga iba, kapag conscious parenting na tayo, we actually deliberately teach that habit. As simple as sleeping habits, um, personal hygiene habits, reading habits, and all of those. Ang tawag sa mga to kapag mga behaviors na ito na naka-integrate na sa human system mo, you call them acquired knowledge, acquired learnings, and acquired skills. At siya yung pinaka nakakapit sa pagkatao. Ayan. So kapag tinanong kayo, which is stronger, acquisition or learning, alam nyo na yung sagot. Kapag nasa TESOL class kayo, it's really acquisition. So much so, kaya nag-thrive ang ESL industry, which is very different from teaching the English subject in a very traditional way. Ang ESL, or English as a Second Language, tries to mimic the acquisition style of learning para mas madaling maaral yung English as a second language. Now, in our case, applicable to us, paano kapag ang anak ko kailangan mag-aral ng Filipino pero English yung language niya. Then if you are able to teach or if you are able to help your child acquire the system of English, maituturo nyo ang Filipino as a second language. So akala nila kasi parang mahina yung anak ko sa Filipino, hindi mahina yung anak mo sa Filipino kasi hindi siya yung dominant language nyo at hindi mo siya naituro in a structured way. So technically, pag sinabi mong homeschooling yan, it's a combination of acquisition and learning. Mas effective ang learning per se kapag sinasamahan mo na acquisition. Paano ba yung acquisition, teacher? Ibig sabihin, kapag in-acquire mo yan, natural yan, and at the same time, fun. Your brain is hardwired to remember happy stuff and happy things. Kaya kapag itinuro mo yung isang bagay na hindi siya masaya at bored siya, mas malamang sa hindi matatandaan ng bata. Kahit ikaw, di mo matatandaan yun eh. Ano pa yung isa pang natatandaan ng brain natin? Pag-trauma. Yung paano pag either natatandaan ng brain yan or ini-erase niya. Kaya di ba kapag meron isang traumatic event, biglang naiiba yung brain waves, meron siyang mga selective memories, or natatanda niya pero merong negative reaction yung katawan niya, which is still not good. So ang totoong habit is pag naituro ka tapos fun yun, enjoyable yun, mas matatandaan ng anak mo. Yun, naalala ko tuloy yung mga Reyes sisters, no? Kasi nang ginawa nila yung bird watching. Paano mas effective yung you watch the birds because they're interesting and they're fun and they're just cute and all thing, and then they become so curious, they become so interested that they read up about it, as opposed to pag tinuro mo siya in a typical science structured class na this is the scientific name and these are the characteristics. Mas matatandaan ng anak mo yung appreciation ng let's just do bird watching for fun. So, ganun lang yun. The same principle applies to almost anything. So, ano yung gusto kong i-emphasize here? Now, as high schoolers, we let us try to encourage our kids in the interests and the tendencies that they have so that they will have fun while discovering and developing those talents instead of forcing them to do it in this structured manner. So, paano po yung teacher kailangan nila alam tong mga subjects na ito? Hindi ko sinasabi na hindi importante yung pagbabasa at hindi importante yung mga textbooks po ha. Baka po ma-misquote o ma-misunderstand niyo po ako. Importante po yung actually academic text. Importante rin po yung informational text. Diyan po kasi nanggagaling yung mga mga kailangan natin sa mundong ito. In fact, if not for the informational tech, scientific knowledge, and those technical research methods, hindi tayo magkakaroon ng vaccine. Kailangan natin yung mga yun. But what I'm pointing out is, you have to make sure na yung acquisition nila tsaka learning nila hand in hand. Na kaya nagiging mas prolific ang pag-aaral ay dahil nag-enjoy na sila. So, paano mo ito ituturo? Make sure that they're able to master something that they love. Okay? And then, make sure na kung meron ka ipapaaral sa kanila o ituturo mo na mahirap or technical, make sure that they appreciate and realize its value. Kasi kapag ituturo lang natin to or papasabi natin na aralin mo yan kasi yan ang sabi ng libro, i-memorize lang nila yan, pero walang value. You know, hindi, i-memorize mo yan, ibibigyan kita ng test para pag maganda yung scores mo sa test, bibigyan kita ng magandang grades. Hindi pwedeng hanggang doon lang. It will not be enough and it will not be valuable to the student. And kapag ganun mo siya pinalaki din, ganun din yung magiging attitude na, not just for academics, but for his or her career at sa kanyang buong pagkatao at pagkabuhay. And it's not something that you would want, for your child. Gusto mo holistic siya. Yes, there we have to give importance to academics, but we have to know that they know its value. Bigyan ko kayo ng example. Okay, right now, of course, I advocate, kailangan yung mathematical abilities nila, wala tayong choice dahil meron tayong standardized test. If you want them to, kunyari, meron talagang college entrance test. They have to have mastered these mathematical concepts by the time they are grade 10, grade 11, kasi doon sila magtitake ng mga college admissions test, right? Okay, yun yung kailangan nila yun. Pero kasi ang i-remind mo sa kanila every time is yung pag-aaral mo ng integers, pag-aaral mo ng polynomials, pag-aaral mo ng mga algorithms or whatever that. Kasi yung mga yan yung proseso ng pag-iisip. At yung proseso ng pag-iisip na yan yung eventually magiging valuable sa kahit na anong aspect ng buhay mo. Okay, now let's take for example the principle of coding. Ayan. So, hindi ako programmer, hindi ko rin talaga 100% naiintindihan ng coding. But coding, basically, if you look at it, it's just logic. Logic and patterns. No, in everything that we learn, so yung logic and patterns na yan, pinoprogram nila para may mapagawa sila na task sa machine or like for example, the online systems, payment system ng PAL or how to add to cart dun sa mga e-commerce, puro mga galing sa coding yan tsaka programming. No? Pero yung pag-aaral kasi na mismo, dapat alam nila yung relevance. Why are we asking them to learn the discipline of learning? Because the discipline of learning is actually the thinking process. And the thinking process is the problem-solving process, which are the kinds of students and the kinds of people that we need right now and in the future. Dahil ang dami pong dumadating na problema, dapat we raise proactive students who will always try or who will always parang have this tendency to think of solutions. Yun yung mindset. So, whether it's math, whether it's science, whether it's English, tignan nyo lang sila parati na mga tools so that they can navigate their world. Kung minsan, it's really a matter of perspective. The reason why I homeschool really is I wanted to do away with memorizing stuff that I feel are not relevant or I feel that my kids can just search very easily online. So, hindi ko na ipapamemorize sa kanila yan kapag hindi ko naman makita kung ano yung silbi talaga sa kanilang totoong buhay. Yes, it's good for them to know that. But I have to know or they have to know its relevance and its value to the world they live in. Kasi yun naman po talaga yung ating objective. Sabi nga, ko si Ken Robinson talaga parati yung kino-quote ko dito kasi sabi niya, our duty is really to teach our children to understand the world where they live in and how to navigate it successfully. Pag yung mga itinuturo natin ay hindi naman nakakatulong para maintindihan nila yung totoong mundo, ba't pa tayo nagtuturo? So, yun yung una. So, again, para sa mga parents na nasa-stress kung naituro ba nila lahat ng concepts, okay, kailangan lang alam mo na alam nila yung basic, at yung basic may mastery sila. Tapos kapag may mastery na sila, pwede na yung lumaki exponentially. So I'm going to teach you a little bit about presentation literacy later. Dahil yun yung mga series of webinars na katatapos ko. How presentation literacy actually dominates our world right now, and it is the one skill that is needed by the new now, so to speak. Kasi pagbukas mo ng ng lahat mula bangko hanggang sa pag-order mo ng food hanggang sa trabaho mo, all kinds of jobs require some sort of digital literacy and presentation literacy. Para mas maintindihan mo kung paano ang content ng binibigay sa'yo, dapat alam mo kung bakit siya pre-present ng ganun. Parating logical yan. In fact, the reason why good blogs thrive is because the content is given in small doses and in a very organized manner. Yun yung mga magagandang blogs. And even the university websites right now, they use the same principle. Madalang na yung mga universities na mahahaba yung mga write-ups and masyadong highfalutin yung mga words. No, they try to use the language that is easily accessible by busy people. Kasi dami kasi ng information, how do you distill information? So, they call it presentation literacy. So, and we're bringing it a notch higher, especially for high schoolers kasi yung presentation literacy na yan, sige na, pag present sa kanila in a YouTube video, in a, in a write-up, in a, whatever kind of presentation there is, dapat naiintindihan nila, may comprehension. At the same time, yung notch higher is, they have to be able to imagine themselves or really think of themselves as somebody who can present in like manner. The reason why I try my best to talk to the high schoolers, to the student council officers, so that we can develop leaders in them along with the other high schoolers para maging mas meron silang sense of organization. It's the secret to everything. Meron ka ng sense of organization and you know how to present those ideas in a literate way which will be understood by others. Yun yung pinaka-essential skill right now. And many jobs are coming out which are jobs that did not exist before. Okay? So dati nasa sideline lang kunyari ang virtual assistants. Ngayon it's one of the thriving careers dahil ito yung kailangan ng mga companies. At yung mga companies nag-change na rin sila ng gear, marami na sa kanilang mga systems ay puro digitized. Now when we talk about managing or limiting screen time for our children, we have to understand what we mean by limiting and what we are limiting them from. Kasi totoo naman na kapag masyadong games tapos puro hindi naman, wala naman siyang nakikita or natututunan na value, tapos nasa harap siya ng computer, hawak niya yung iPad, hawak niya yung phone, like that. Pag wala naman talaga, that's, you monitor. Pero kapag yung hindi mo naiintindihan, tapos meron palang value sa kanila, you have to educate yourselves also para alam mo how to guide them. I'm going to give you an example na nakayaman, no? I have this other band na mga magkakapareho kami ng edad. Puro mga graduates ng mga magagandang mga universities, ganyan-ganyan. Pero in the end, ang pinakamayaman sa amin ay yung graduate ng AMA. Kasi siya yung may nanay at tatay na hindi pinigilan yung anak na maglaro ng family computer at saka yung mga saga noong unang panahon. Yung mga magulang ng mga iba, itapon nyo yan, masama yan. Huwag nyong gawin yan kasi walang masisil. Huwag mong gawin yan, hindi kakikita dyan. All of those kinds of advice that came from our traditional parents, only to find out that digital literacy actually dominates everything now. At siya yung natutong mag-games at natutong gumamit ng computer bumagsak siya dun sa isang sa prestigious university, nag-transfer siya sa AMA, pero siya yung six figure yung yung salary. I mean, that's just a funny example, and we still make a joke of it up to now. But my point is, marami sa mga nangyayari ngayon at mga klase ng information and knowledge and everything else, are not very familiar to the older ones. So because I'm speaking to you, um, as a high school, or as no, hindi na high school pala, as a mom of a
Ilan
first year,
162?
yeah, first year college
Ah,
student na yung anak ko eh. So I should know because my daughter has exceeded my knowledge in so many things, particularly in the digital world. So hindi ako nagturo sa kanya yan. Natutunan niya pati yung presentation literacy niya, pati yung coding niya, pati yung photoshopping niya, pati yung graphics niya, pati yung yung mga presi at lahat na yun, hindi ako yung nagturo sa kanya, siya na yung natuto nun. And I am right now my daughter is my mentor. So I'm sharing this so that you can also open your minds to what's happening, and alam ko na you always tell your kids to hit the books, and yes, you tell them that, but you also tell them to be informed and to be updated. And in so doing, you have to be updated yourselves for you to be able to guide them. Iba po kasi nasa high school na po kasi sila eh. When my daughter was about 15 or 16 years old, I really um, taught her
anong live ba?
financial literacy, the the practical aspects of how life works, um, the value of money, not by money per se, but the value of how inflation works, para po naiintindihan niya at para ma-value din niya kung ano yung ginagastos at hindi ginagastos. And I also treated her almost like an adult at the time, when she was 15 or 16. And this I could do that because I was homeschooling. Kapag hindi, marami siyang hindi ma-free yung time niya kasi ang daming i-require yung traditional school eh. But in her case, for example, after we did the program, that we tackled most of the academics, we did not even go into details. She got herself certifications, and she got she got a job. So she's richer than me. Pwede ko siyang utangan. And right now pinakiusapan ko siya na magtrabaho sa Victoria's Homeschool because she can create the systems. And she is also outsourced by others. I mean, hindi lang ito, hindi naman also pagiging computer lang talaga. No, I'm not referring to just computer, but how yung general attitude towards work, general attitude towards life, how your child treats others, yung value of time, value of people, compassion. At isa sa mga I am most proud of my daughter for being an inclusive child. Even before my daughter was diagnosed, kahit noong when she was very young, she no as a homeschooler, kahit sino kaibigan niya, wala siyang pinipili. Kahit na anong itsura, kahit na sa kanila parang paano niya napapakisamahan yun samantala masyadong weird and close yung bata, or reserved, or merong or differently abled yung bata. She's very inclusive as well. So kaya naging inspiration ko yun. So maybe these are the things that we can teach our kids so they can be more mature and are able to navigate their world. They can improve themselves, and at the same time, they will have this notion at the back of their minds that they can also help others. Ayan. So, yun po yung mga sharing na gusto ko po ibigay sa inyo bilang high school, just finished high school mom, and who is now a mom of a first year college student. So, marami po sa inyo, may mga humihingi din po sa akin ng mga advice. I say the same thing. Right now, this is being recorded so it can be shared by to others as well, and I'm very happy for this opportunity. Ayan po. No, thank you po, Mami Lay. Yeah, you're also doing well yourself. I appreciate Luis so much. And I work with your children, and I hope to work with more of your children, especially those mga hindi ko pa po nakikilala. And I promise to continue mentoring them every other week para po mas mahon po yung kanilang leadership skills, and they will have the capacity to also teach others. Yun po yung pinaka-importante po doon.
Thank you. Thank you, Teacher Helen.
You're welcome po. Ayan po. Ayan. So, um, Amber, pakilagay yung shirt. Tinan mo yung aking mentor. Very short lang po na presentation for those of you who are just who are attending this meeting for the first time. Ayan, the really important stuff. Okay, so ano ba yung mga really important stuff? So, our important stuff really is character building. So, by the end of this school year, and so mamaya pag-usapan natin uli yung grades, so especially for those who just came in. By the end of the school year, no, we request from you to give a character award for your child. Ayan, so observe your child. Ano yung saan siya nag-thrive at saan siya naging pinaka-successful among all of these character traits. Okay, so was your child very dependable nung nagkaroon ka ng trabaho, siya yung nag-take over ng mga household chores, nag-plan, then you can give her the award of dependability. Deference means respect, humility is acceptance of the truth. Meron tayong mga basic descriptions of these, or you can research it yourself. Now, if there is a particular character trait na wala po dito, you can come up with your own character award beyond this list. Yung pinaka-importante talaga, at the very start of the school year, I already mentioned that obedience is the first thing that we really have to teach our children. Kasi kahit sa Bible, yun talaga yung una nating downfall eh. When you teach obedience kasi nandyan na yung susunod na yung mga respect, nandyan na yung mga ibang mga values. Now, obedience can also be qualified according to degrees kasi well, pwedeng obedient yung child, but does your child obey promptly? Does your child obey thoroughly? Or does your child obey willingly? Ayan. So, yung tatlo yung nagde-determine ng quality. So, sumusunod ba agad? Kompleto ba yung pagsunod niya sa'yo? Or half-hearted lang? Or hindi tinapos yung trabaho? Or cheerful ba siya nung nag-obey sa'yo? So, yun yung quality talaga yun yung pinaka-una talaga. And among all of those, merong mga standout dyan, yung decisiveness, flexibility, it's really up to you. So, observe your child, or try to remember from the past up to the present and even up to the end of the school year, we will make an announcement para mag-submit kayo ng character trait na ibibigay natin na character award sa anak ninyo para pag tanggap po nila ng moving up, ibibigay natin yung award na yun sa kanila. So observe them and then choose one. Okay, so yun, that's the reason why I'm mentioning this first is because again, homeschooling or any homeschooling for that matter is all about character and academics, and character always comes first. So, yeah. Now, next, I want to briefly discuss the literacies. Yes po.
May tanong. First po, makisuyo lang po ako dito. Pakimute na lang po muna while po, meron po ditong isang question, teacher.
Yes po.
Can I give more than one award to my child?
Mas maganda po sana isang dominant award lang. Kasi po kapag dalawa po yung awards, pwede naman po siguro, pero hindi ko po alam. Yes po. Yes, teacher.
Apo, pwede naman po na dalawa or tatlo. Pero may dominant talaga para ma-expression. Ano yung, kunyari, kung dependability or responsibility, may explanation po, pwede naman po yun.
Kasi naka-certificate yun, teacher. Sige, isipin natin. Magbibigay na lang po tayo ng guidelines para po mas clear yun. Ayan po. Sige po. Okay. Sorry po, may commercial. Ayan po. Ayan, so, ano pa po yung ibang tanong? Yun po. Hindi ko po kasi nakikita yung chat po.
Yun lang po so far, teacher.
Okay, sige. Sige, mas malamang po, sabi ni Teacher Joby, payagan po natin na magkaroon ng more than one character award. Now, yung pong mga naging mga winners din po sa mga contest natin sa Grateful and Victorious, meron din pong i-announce din po uli yun sa moving up tsaka sa recognition ceremony po natin. Tapos po yung ating graduates na, ay nalimutan ko sabihin to sa kinder kanina. So, kindergarten, grade 6, grade 10, and grade 12 completers will receive uh, the victorious homeschool medals po. Ayan po. Sila po yung kasimar para magiging graduates natin. Tsaka yung certificate of graduation for those levels. Kinder, grade 6, grade 10, and grade 12. Ayan po. Okay na po? Okay, so yung pong ito yung mga basic literacies when it comes to academics. Preschool to grade 1 and to 2, so hindi na masyadong relevant sa inyo. Pero at the outset po kasi, kapag po talagang whether you were regularly schooled or homeschooled, pag na-address po natin tong mga literacies na to, so reading, numbers and concepts, motor skills, sense of order, to mga to, then mas maganda po yung nagiging development nila. Now, sa grade 3 and 4 po kasi ito yung mga concepts na dapat at mga literacies na dapat nagkaroon sila. Now, kapag yung anak po ninyo, kunyari ay nasa grade 7 na, grade 8 na, tapos pakiramdam niya po, pwede pa po siyang i-develop sa mga concepts na to. Like, i-develop yung reading comprehension, more mathematical literacy, kailangan ng kanyang organization of ideas, writing structure, introduction to research, meron pa na siya dapat doon. Then, pwede naman pa nating ituro. Pwede pa naman po talagang i-develop. So you just have to recognize these basic literacies. Pwede po nating i-mute yung yung ating, dali po mute ko lang. Ayan. Okay po. So yung pong mga, minsan kasi, like for example, kapag masyado tayong naging busy or nasa regular school po yung anak natin, pag sunod-sunod po yung lessons po ng teacher, tapos marami po sila sa class, baka hindi po natin kasi nade-develop effectively yung mga basic literacies na to. So, pwede po natin siyang balikan at make sure na kaya bang intindihin ng anak ko yung ganitong level ng mga readings. Particularly kapag nandito na sa edad na to, grade 5 to 6 and up, dapat meron na silang working skills to understand informational text. Ito yung tinatawag nating academic text. I don't know if you have experienced it with your children, pero meron po mga bata na pag pinagbasa natin ng medyo mahaba na hindi kwento, hindi ko masyadong maintindihan ang isasagot sa inyo. Okay, so kahit mga grade 5 level, grade 6 level, na mga text, minsan yung grade 7, hindi niya naintindihan yung grade 5 level. Meron pong ganun, and it's not something that you should really be too sad about, kasi pwede pa naman siyang iakyat. Ang problema po, kapag yung tinatawag nating affective filter ng anak natin, yung parang nawalan siya ng kumpiyansa sa sarili niya kasi bakit hindi niya naiintindihan kaagad, yun po yung bantayan kasi natin. Dahil po itong mga to, ay skills na pwede po talaga pang matutunan at pwede pang gawin. Technically, kapag sa regular school, tinatawag nila itong na remedial. But, it has to be addressed. So, hindi ako nagiging stricto, no? Bakit kailangan siyang magkaroon ng mga ganitong skills yung mga anak natin? Kasi ito yung kailangan nila to navigate, not just the academics, but also kung ano man yung magiging trabaho nila later on. Kasi they will go through interviews, they will go through applications. Right now, everything is digital application. Paano sila sasagot ng maayos na mga forms? Like, job applications would require them to, okay, can you state briefly why you're applying for this job? Or can you tell me the importance of sense of organization? Or can you tell me, pag meron silang tinanong na gano'n, or tell me briefly something about yourself. Kahit ganun man lang question, tapos hindi nila masagot ng maayos in a very decent and effective way, that's, that tells something about them. Kumbaga, right now we are being judged according to the way we write, according to how we register, according to how we are seen online. According to our judgment, according to our decisions, ang dami po. So yung po, pag meron po kasi itong mga literacies na to yung anak natin, ma-access nila yung madami pong information and knowledge to help them become better. So yun po yung dahilan, hindi dahil sa sinasabi natin na ang hina naman or bakit ang baba or bakit hindi nagawa or nagsisisihan, like so. No, just, let's not dwell on those negative thinkings. Punta na tayo dun, so okay, how can we improve? How can we make it better? Proactive po parati tayo. Kasi kapag magdedwell tayo dun, kung magiging productive yung oras natin. So yung, kapag grade 7 kayo, grade 8, kapag makikita niyo itong grade 5 and 6 kulang pa, then let's address it. So pag sinabi kong digital literacy, ano ba ibig sabihin yan? Basically, knowledge and anything and everything about the digital world. So as simple as how to use Microsoft, how to do PowerPoint, how to search effectively online, how to make presentations, how to download YouTube, how to acknowledge copyright of YouTube, how not to plagiarize. Mga yan, lahat po yan kasama sa digital literacy. Ang lawak-lawak po talaga niyan. So, literacy for oral and written presentation. At this point, kapag ang anak ninyo dapat, maski pa paano, alam na niya yung mag-organize. If you attended our webinars before, that's Comprehension Strategies 101, Comprehension Strategies 102. Nagbigay po tayo ng libreng webinars na ganito. Yung 101 po, it's a comprehension strategy for the perfect story writing structure or the perfect story. So, kapag na alam ng anak niyo po na i-navigate yung literacy na yun, kapag may nabasa siya na story, whether it's a once upon a time short story or hanggang sa pinakamahaba na nobela, mas mabilis niyang maintindihan yon. Mas mataas ang level of comprehension niya kasi nare-recognize niya yung perfect story structure. Yung Comprehension Strategies 102 naman, it is the 3-point rule or the three-part rule technique. Na alam mo ito yung merong beginnings, middles, and ends, and it's in all its expansions. So kapag merong introduction yan, meron niyang conclusion na magkapareho lang yun, tapos yung nasa gitna, yun talaga yung how, ito yung body paragraph. So again, it's a comprehension strategy na kapag alam nila yun, maski pa paano, automatic yung brain nila, hinahanap nila yan. So nasaan yung thesis statement? Okay, ito yung opinion ng thesis statement. Paano dinevelop yung opinion or yung controlling idea? Asan yung mga evidence, asan yung mga facts and details, ganyan. Automatic yung brain nila na maghahanap nun. Hindi siya dapat masyadong mahirap gawin kapag step-by-step process na nahanap. Pero pag hindi man nagawa ng ganung klaseng, in the developmental way, then at least, bigyan mo sila ng simplified version of that, kahit na maliit na or short na informational text na madali expand. Kapag yung anak mo, kunyari, ay grade 7, grade 8, tapos hindi masyadong maintindihan, masyadong mataas yung technically level ng English niya at hindi niya maintindihan, bigyan mo siya ng pang grade 5 na reading. Okay lang yun. There's nothing wrong with that. Grade 4, grade 5, grade 6 reading texts. Okay lang yun. Kahit hindi po pang grade 7 teacher, yes. Kasi yun po yung beauty ng homeschooling. What you are aiming for is the skill and the literacy. Yung material, tools mo lang yun. Walang rule na nagsasabi na si grade 8 hindi pwedeng magbasa ng pang grade 5. Or vice versa. Pwede po natin gamitin kahit na anong klaseng libro. Ngayon lang, titignan mo kung nasaan na yung anak mo. So let's service mastery and let's not be too hard on ourselves either. Kasi minsan kapag tinignan natin yung learning guide or yung mga table of contents ng isang textbook, ang dami. Okay, so guilty ako dito, no? Pero hindi mo actually kailangan ituro lahat. At wala kang kailangan talagang technically ipa-memorize. Yung mga dates at mga facts and mga figures, hindi mo kailangan ipa-memorize unless may relevance o value yung detail and fact na yun dito sa isang something. it's always that, it will operate like that. Like for example, kailangan bang alam mo kung sino yung mga tao, exact names, dates ng kunyari World War II? Dapat alam mo siguro in general, right? But then what you can really find value there is, okay, so what happened in World War II generally, what are its effects, and how did it affect the lives of people, and um how can we prevent say similar problems, or how can we move from there, or how are they relevant to the world of today. Yun yung may value dun. Kunyari, as simple as, okay, so World War II, how did people overcome that adversity? How did people recover? How did, what kinds of behavior did, the people do? What worked, what did not work? What were pleasing, what were unpleasant? So, yun yung value noon. Hindi yung basta lang inaral mo yung facts and figures noon. It applies to almost everything. Even when you talk about science, sige, meron kang matter, you talk about matter, or you talk about chemistry, for example. Yes, it's good to memorize all of those, the what do you call this, yung chart. Hanggang ngayon, hindi ko pa memorize siya. Alam ko lang si H2O yata, tsaka nitrogen. Magbakonti lang alam ko doon. But the thing is, tignan niyo ano yung value nun, knowing those in, say, for example, real life. Like, there are substances and chemicals that you don't put together because they're dangerous. Okay, yung as simple as sa kitchen lang. You cannot, like, say, for example, overheat oil because it can create fire, or you cannot put water in a heated oil kasi it will explode and cause burns. Mga ganun tipo. Kapag yun, may relevance, merong value. The same with everything that's the beauty of homeschooling, because there should always be value in what we are teaching. Value in terms of how it applies to the real world. You cannot teach everything, okay, but teach those that you feel are relevant right now, and don't beat yourself up if you cannot teach all the academic concepts. You need the academic code to learn, but you don't have to teach everything. Kaya pag di pa kami tapos, teacher, sino bang nagagalit na hindi ka pa tapos? Sino nagsasabi na you're not a good homeschooling ma'am pag hindi mo natapos yung lessons? Teacher, hindi pa ako nakapag-quiz. Tanong mo yung anak mo, discuss mo yung topic na yon. Meron ba siyang na-retain? May naintindihan pa siya? Ano nakita mong value dun sa natutunan niya? Then that's what you grade. Don't be too schoolified about it. I don't know the exact term. Okay, so as high schoolers, ano yung mga talagang importante dapat meron sila? Kailangan meron silang reading comprehension. Especially for informational texts that are, again, relevant to the whole world. Now, and the world that they live in. Yung reading comprehension na yan, issue talaga yan dahil hanggang yung maraming mga bata, I know students from, say, for example, public schools who reached grade 7 and grade 8 and who couldn't really read at a grade 2 or grade 3 level. Medyo sad yun, ganun. Pero kapag yung pwede pa namang i-improve, okay lang yun. Just give them and start. You find topics that are interesting to them. It doesn't have to come from one book. Yun eh. Kasi kapag meron kang textbook, parang feeling mo compelled ka to finish that textbook and follow it to the letter. That's what I've always been trying to say. If the textbook does not work for you, don't use it. Or source many materials and look for those topics, then find the ones that would teach your child most effectively in a fun manner, more pictures, go to YouTube, go to the internet. You don't feel trapped um, with textbooks. But if the textbook works for you, then by all means, please use it. Use the textbooks. Okay, mathematical concepts, that's a given. Organization of ideas, hindi siya nawawala talaga. Academic writing skills, simply because when you talk about academic writing, you talk about truths and research-based evidence. Pag gano'n na, yung mga nagma-masters katulad namin, at nagpi-PhD katulad namin, nila Teacher Joby, ba't kailangan pa kasi magsulat-sulat niyan? nagalit sa akin si Teacher Joey. Minsan, ang dami-daming sinusulat, ang dami-daming research. Kasi po, ang research paper writing is not really for, just for us. Yes, it's a requirement. Sa high school, actually, ang grade 12, dapat may research paper writing eh. Sinisimplify ko lang yung requirement ko. Nagpa-submit lang ako ng mga essays at mga highlights. Pero dapat requirement siya sa grade 12. Kasi ang research paper writing, ibig sabihin sinulat mo 'yan, meron kang inisip na isang konsepto or isang aralin, maghahanap ka ngayon ng ebidensya tungkol dun sa pinili mo na anggulo na yon, at yung ebidensya na yon yung ibibigay mo sa findings mo, at yun yung aaralin din ng iba para mas ma-improve pa yung pag-aaral dun sa particular concept na yon. I'm going to give you an example. There are so many scientific paper and science reports, no? Sa pagpalagay mo na meron nag-aral, nagkumuha ng research tungkol sa paggawa ng vaccine. Gawin natin general kasi hindi ko masyadong naiintindihan. Paggawa ng vaccine. So, kunyari, si vaccine A. Sabi niya si vaccine A, ito yung mga na prevent na mga diseases. Kunyari, 1, 2, 3. So, yun yung research niya. Tapos, ano yung evidence niya? Kukuha siya ngayon ng mga tao, o mag-i-interview siya ng mga tao na nakakuha ng vaccine na yun. I-research siya ano yung naging experience nila. Naging effective ba siya, nagkaroon ba ng recurrence, ganyan-ganyan. Tapos lalagay niya yun sa findings niya at results niya. Pag merong isa pang researcher na magbabasa nun, ano siya, okay, sige, i-compare niya ngayon, meron siya ngayon gustong aralin, si vaccine A at si vaccine B. I-point out niya ngayon yung research niya, na-research ng isa tungkol sa vaccine A at magpe-present siya ng isa pang research si vaccine B. So ngayon, ang job niya to compare vaccine A and vaccine B. So gagawa siya uli ng findings and results about it. At yun aaralin ng iba. Can you imagine? Do you get what I'm saying? Yung mga naaaral ng mga researchers na mga anak natin, mga nauna sa amin at mga susunod sa amin, ito nagko-compile ito so that we can distill information that will be helpful to all of us. Even kami ni Teacher Joby, nagsusulat kami about homeschooling. Homeschooling in the Philippines kasi kukunti yung may papers about it. So, effective practices in homeschooling, live-in practices of homeschooling. Bakit namin inaaral? Bakit kami nag-i-interview ng 10 to 15 people about it? Para mailagay namin yung experience nila para mabigay ito at mabasa ng iba at makita nila, ay, effective pala ito, ay, ito hindi effective. Ganun po yung essentially ang silbi po ng research. Kaya po tayo, dapat itinuturo po natin yan. Ang basic level ng research is, looking for keywords, looking for definitions, looking for articles, ganyan yun. Pero palalim po ng palalim yun hanggang po sila ay magka-college kapag may research paper po sila, yun po yung ginagawa nila. Mag-aaral at maglalagay ng ebidensya. At yung ebidensya na yan magagamit po para may maaral po na iba na may relasyon dyan at para mas magamit po ng mga tao. Bakit po tayo may mga effective na mga vaccines, may mga effective tayo ng mga machines, meron tayong effective na architecture kasi po dahil po sa mga research po yan. Ayan po. So, digital presentation. So, kaysa nag-research ka, kunyari, paano mo ngayon ituturo yung na-research mo? Kaya meron silang mga structures. Pwede rin mga PowerPoints, pwede rin mga Prezi and all that. Again, so grade 7 to 12, dapat meron tayong literacy for oral and written presentations kasi marami na dapat ideas yung mga anak natin at dapat kaya po nilang i-share. Ayan po. So yun po yung gusto ko po na i-share sa inyo and it's basically, it all boils down to presentation literacy. Literacy in terms of knowing how to get information, distill it, and knowing how to share that information. Ayan. So, yun po yung ending po ng aking simple presentation. At ito, since para maturo ko po sa mga anak po ninyo yan, ayan, so, hindi ko lang po siya kinikwento, ituturo ko po sa inyo kasi natutunan ko din po sa marami. At the same time, I made my own program. So, I will still see your children sa mga bolt-ins po natin I'm going to teach them writing skills na naka-incorporate po dyan yung presentation skills. So, yan po yan. So, ang mga anak po ninyo, mamimit ko po sila sa Writing 101 at Writing 102. Now, maliit yung chance, pero kapag meron po kayong grade 7 at 8 na pakiramdam nyo, kulang pa talaga sa confidence sa basic writing, pa-attend din nyo po ng Writing 100. lahat po kayo allowed po na umattend po sa lahat po ng classes na yan. So yung March 13, 20, and 27 po ay puro Fridays po yan. Yung admission essay, yung essay writing po na class sa April ko po ibibigay. Bukod po dyan, meron po tayong mga public speaking classes po para po paano sila mag-organize po ng mga speeches tsaka mga presentations. So, tuturuan ko po yung mga anak niyo po. Ang hinihingi ko lang po, i-encourage niyo po sila, supportahan niyo po sila, at kung may time po kayo, umupo po kayo, samahan niyo po sila na mag-aral so that you can reinforce whatever I can teach you. Yan po. Ayan, so yun po yung ending ng ating presentation. Ano pa po? Meron pa tayong mga announcement, Teacher Joby? Ayan po, tingnan ko po yung mga comments. Ngayon ko lang po. Ayan po. Ayan. I see the value of now to because my son Michael is now living on his own and he can apply the things he learned. No, yeah, nga po. Si Michael po, naging estudyante ko po siya. Galing-galing po na bata. Kasi magaling po yung mami at dad. Ano po, si Mami Lou, can I give more than award? Oh, yeah, nasagot mo po. Yes po. Tapos, yeah, prepared for the real world. Very good. So, si Mami Candice, thank you po. Ayan, so yun po wala naman po kayong major question. So yun lang po, reminder lang po yung pagsubmit po ng grades. At saka po, may Teacher Joey, nandiyan ka ba?
Yes, teacher,
Ay,
nakabalik na ako sa school.
hi, hello teacher. Nakaikot ka na sa buong Manila.
Hanggang Pampanga.
Ay, hanggang Pampanga. Ayan,
Opo.
mga announcements na lang po, teacher. Yung pong pag-submit sa grades, yung registration, etc. po.
Ayan. Ayan po, magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Pakihawak ko ang picture. Yan. So, announcement. Ito po, number one, nag-accept na po tayo ng enrollees. So, meron po tayong early registration po until March 31 po. Ayan. And then, dun po sa mga may vouchers po, yung nakakuha po ng event din po natin ng December or may mga nakakuha, yung mga nanalo po ng mga prizes natin. So, yung mga discount po na yan, i-attach nyo lang po yan para mailas na po natin sa tuition fee po ninyo for next year. Ayan. So, ano pa po ba? How much po is the early registration? Kasi nagdagdag po tayo ng miscellaneous po natin. So, yung miscellaneous po natin, pag early registration, wala po yun. Tama po ba, Teacher Len?
Yes,
So, 13,000
no miscellaneous
Yes,
fee
teacher.
po sa ano. Nasa ano po, type ko po dito, nasa website po natin. Check. Ano ko lang po.
Dun po sa magre-register po, pwede naman na pong mag-register po, nasa website po natin yan. Makikita niyo po doon na kailangan po ng card. Ang ipakita niyo lang po doon, ang i-upload niyo lang po doon, yung card niyo at least ng first quarter. Ayan. Yun po yung incoming for next year po. And then, submission of grades naman po sa mga hindi pa po nakakapag-submit. Yung iba na sabi namin, pwede na at the end of the school year, tayo po yung maaga mga nag-enroll, April po, dapat nakasubmit na po sila. Yung mga late po, like mga October, November, December, pwede po yan hanggang May 30. Pag hindi po kayo nakapagbigay, hindi po magle-level up po yung bata kasi isinasubmit po namin yan sa DepEd. Kasi po, napapansin nyo po, may ito yung mga with honors po, yung mga dati po na mga bata na may 90 above po, nilalagay din po kasi namin yan. So, kung with honors, or with higher, or with highest po yan, naka-indicate po yan, may star po na nakalagay po yan. So, kailangan po namin ipasa po yan sa DepEd. Pag wala po kayong naipasa, incomplete po kayo. So, pag nag-enroll po kayo ulit, hindi po kayo male-level up. Yan. Pending po yun. So, iwasan po natin yon kasi napakahirap po talaga, lalo na sa panahon ngayon, with or without pandemic, lalo na ang pandemic, mahirap po mag-asikaso po ng papel. At kayo po ang mag-aasikaso niyan. Opo, ipapasa po namin yan sa inyo. So, agahan po natin. Yung iba nga po, naka-third at saka naka-fourth quarter na po. Yan. So,
Good news po sa payment options po natin, bukod po sa money transfer, pwede na rin po tayo na available na po yung PayPal and pwede na rin po mag-credit card po sa mga nagtatanong, pwede na po. And it, GCash is available din po, Palawan or Cebuana po, yan po yung inaayos po natin ngayon, Palawan and Cebuana. So, yun na lang po yung hindi, pero I prefer yung online na lang kasi ang mahal po ng Palawan at saka ng Cebuana, napakalaki po charges po nila. Ayan po. So, alam ko po dahil nag-announce po ako ng grades, marami po magtatanong, teacher, paano po yung paano po mag-upload po sa Google Classroom po? Meron po tayong tutorial po niyan. Paki-check po, i-upload or nai-upload na po yan ni Miss Amber po sa Victorious Village kung paano. So, ayan, meron po tayo and baka ma-stress po na, naku, wala pa ako. So, alam niyo po yun, marami po sa atin na yung naghahabol, iwasan po natin yun para hindi po kayo mai-stress. And katulad po ng in-announce ko sa mga kaninang mga group kanina, parang mahal na mahal po namin kayo. Nag-iisip po kami lahat po ng mga, alam niyo po, lahat po ng mga tawag dito, kailangan po ninyo, pagkausap namin kayo, heart to heart. Yung iba po, sorry po, yung iba po ang susungit po talaga, pero alam niyo po yun, may mga masusungit po talaga, pero kahit masungit po kayo, we really love you. And tinitignan po namin po yun na paano po namin kayo. Kasi normal po yun eh, kasi di ba bago pa ang pag-homeschool, nag-a-adjust sa trabaho. Yung iba po, nawalan pa ng trabaho. So, naiintindihan po namin kayo. Ayan po. At sabihin nyo lang po sa amin, sabihin nyo, teacher, okay lang po ba? Magagalit ako, pero hindi po talaga ako galit. Gusto ko lang i-share. Unahan nyo lang po ng ganun para alam na alam po namin. Ayan, naglalambing lang po ako sa inyo. And ano pa po ba? Ganun po eh, no? Sa Teacher Joby, yan po ang aking personality. Pasensya na po. Ayan. So, puro lambing lang po. Kasi masarap po kasing magtrabaho na kahit na, kasi minsan po kahit din po ako, ang nagiging outlet ko po is, syempre, yung malapit din po sa akin. So, sinasabi ko din, wag mo na ha, parang gano'n. So, alam ko po mahirap po ang pinagdadaanan niyo po. Alam po namin lahat po yan. And lahat po tayo ay mag-a-adjust ng para-parehas. Nandito po kami, mga teachers po, yung mga advisors po, nandito po, sila Teacher Hazel, nandyan po, mga high school po, sila Teacher Alet, and ibang mga teachers, nandito po kami. Hindi naman po talaga yung bata kami talaga directly eh. Kasi kayo po na mga parents ko, yung talagang, pasensya na po, una po namin kailangan mas alagaan, mas intindihin na dapat po more on values po tayo, dapat relax lang po kayo kasi kung hindi po kayo relax, matutulad po kayo sa akin dati, nung first time ko ma-experience ang pag-homeschool, 2 taon po talaga, monster mommy talaga ang tawag po sa akin kasi hindi ko po alam yung gagawin ko. Wala po akong pagsasabihan kasi bahala ako sa buhay ko. Pero dito, ang puso namin, ang tenga po namin ay willing pong makinig. Ayan po. Sa mga nakakausap ko po o nakakausap po namin, madali lang po kami i-message. Madali po kaming i-message kung hindi man po yung isa po ay makakausap niyo po. Nandito lang po kami. Sasagot naman po kami agad-agad na or within the day. Parang gano'n. Kahit nga po gabi, sumasagot po kami, basta po kami ay naka-online.
Basta
Opo, or
gising.
madaling araw po, basta gising po kami, basta po kami naka-online, okay po kasi bakit pa ba natin ipapabukas kung nandyan din lang naman. So, ayun po, ayun, mahal po namin kayo. Hindi po ako na,
Totoo po yan.
really love
Iyakin
you.
po yan si Teacher Joby pareho.
Oo, kasi ano po ako eh, emotional po ako. Alam kong kailangan siguro mas more on my puso talaga. Yun naman siguro yung kailangan ko, 'di ba? Kaysa naman napakaano ko magsalita tapos pala hindi naman pala ito po talaga yung totoo. What you see, what you hear is what you get from me. Ayan. Uwi ka na
Ayan, uwi ka
teacher
na,
na.
Tito Din. Ako di ka nag...
Oo. Kaya nga po, na po ako, mami ko, mami Candice. Salamat. Ayan. So,
Hindi,
ayan
okay
po,
lang po yun.
tawagan niyo po kami. We will give you our best po. At ang maganda po doon, Teacher Len, na in-announce po yung booklet po natin dahil po yan sa inyo pong lahat. at para po yan sa inyo. Kaya lahat po ng pwedeng i-outsource ay ginagawa po at pinag-uusapan po namin. Ayan po. So, salamat po. God bless
God
everyone.
bless
Thank
po.
you
Ayan.
po.
Kapag meron po kayong mga tanong pa, tapos hindi nyo po tanong po dito, pwede naman po kaming i-message. Ang ano po natin, mga kasama po natin na high school advisors at parent leaders ay po si Teacher Hazel at si Teacher Alet po. Now, later on, mag-uusap po kami, magmi-meeting po kami, tapos mag-identify din po kami ng mga ibang parents who we can tap as part of our uh, group of parent leaders. Kasi po nakita namin yung value ng homeschooling parents helping other homeschooling parents. Napakaganda po nung konsepto. Tapos nakita namin kahit hindi po nagagaling sa amin, yung pong mga ibang mga mommies, tinutulungan po yung mga ibang mommies. Sobrang naiiyak po kami sa tuwa. So, yung mga ganon, we want to put that in place, and we want to recognize yung effort na yon. So mag-uusap po kami, tapos makititignan po namin kung sino po yung mga mas nagsishare, nagpo-post at nakikita namin tumutulong, kakausapin po namin baka gusto nyo pong maging parent leaders po per grade level. Yun po yung gagawin namin for
And
now
teacher,
po. Yeah.
gusto ko pong i-congratulate po lahat po ng parents dito kasi high school po yun nandito, ano. Yung mga bata natin, lalo na po yung student council po, very responsible. Imagine niyo high school, junior high school, senior high school, na kayang-kaya mag-facilitate. Tinitrain na po yan nila teacher Len, yung mga in charge po sa high school, Teacher Hazel and Teacher Alep. So, congratulations po sa inyo. So, asahan niyo po na yung mga bata ay mas mahahasa at mahahasa pa po sila. Ayan po.
Basta po sa
Voucher
high
po,
school
sorry
po,
po,
iba po yung ating
sa high
level ng support sa high school kasi po sila nga po yung ayun na, magiging adults na kasi talaga. So,
yung
sila po yung
vouchers po,
inaasikaso natin.
teacher, may nagtanong. Kasi po meron po tayo mga naging contest po noong nakaraan. Yung mga nanalo po, sorry po, hindi siya voucher, yung certificates niyo po
Opo.
na binigay ko. Nyari, first prize, ayan po yun. Yun po, yung naka-attend po ng mga event, yung event po natin, at saka yung contest po natin noong nakaraang December.
Kaya,
Awarding sila.
kaya feeling ko next time, teacher, pag nagbigay tayo ng contest, madami na magjo-join.
Marami
kasi,
po.
kasi ano, sayang po. Tuntua yung mga
Konti
mommies
lang
na
kasi
5,000 yung discount. Ang laki po kasi maski pa paano po.
Opo. Konti lang kasi yung high school na nakaraan, 5,000. Ay, ang dami po talaga. More than 100 or 200,000 ang pinamigay po natin
Yes.
ngayon na worth po ng vouchers.
Opo.
Yan. So, salamat po.
Ayan po.
God bless po.
Okay, God bless po sa inyo. At again, pwede po kayong magtanong pa, mag-iwan po ng message. After this meeting, ipopost po namin yung kahit yung PowerPoint na yan, tsaka yung link for those para dun sa mga hindi pa po alam yung how to submit grades using the Google Classroom. Tsaka po yung web link po natin para sa website at yung pong info book, isi-share po natin na sa mga group chats para po mabasa po. At kapag meron po kayong mga kilala po na kapwa natin na mga victorious homeschooler na hindi po naka-attend sa meeting, ipapasuyo na lang po namin na paki-forward po yung mga links para po makapagbasa po sila. Mas maganda po talaga kapag mas engaged po kasi nakakausap natin at naririnig po yung mga ganitong mga discussions. Pero pag hindi po, okay lang naman po. Ginawa namin, kumuha po kami ng mga distilled information na nakalagay sa booklet format tsaka po dun sa website para hindi po sila talaga nahuhuli. Ano pa po ba? Yung senior high school po, okay, so again, pag kung may present po na senior high school mommies and daddies po dito, ang pinopose ko lang po talaga na specialization sa strand ngayon ay GAS kasi siya po yung generic na strand. Ngayon kapag yung anak niyo po ay gustong mag ABM or accounting, gustong maging engineer, gustong maging kung ano pa man yung specialization dyan, pwedeng-pwede naman po silang kumuha ng mga adjunct subjects or any material, aralin nila on top of the GAS. Kasi po yung GAS, siya po yung acceptable po siya kahit na ano pong course sa college at pwede mo rin siyang gamitin for basic requirement kung kukuha ka ng isang certificate course. Like for example, dito sa ating high school, in the years to come, i-open po natin yung super extremely discounted certificate courses from London Teacher Training College na kapag gusto nilang maging like say for example online ESL teacher or online teacher, pwede po silang makakuha ng professional certificate, at a very minimum fee kasi po, tayo po yung may-ari ng franchise ng London Teacher Training College po ngayon. So aside from that, mag-open din po kami ng mga certificate course for sound engineering at saka po virtual assistance. Ito po yung kasi mga jobs na pwede nilang kunin or pwede nilang gawin kahit po magtatrabaho po sila. Ay, kahit po mag-aaral po sila. They can be working students. We want to give that opportunity po. Ayan po. So yes po Sir Reg, yung certificate, voucher yun po yung certificate po. Yung certificate ba, i-attach na lang po. Pag yes po, i-attach na lang po pag mag-enroll po. Para automatic po yung discount po namin. Sir, yes. Ano pa po? Yun lang naman. Ano po si Mami Arsen Mataya, ano po yung tanong po nila kanina? Yung po tungkol po sa voucher lang po.
Teacher, ano po siya si Arsen. Wala po, bali siyang uma-attend for...
Okay. So, Arsen, ikaw, anong year, grade level mo na anak? Arsen, anong grade level mo? Wala na yata siya. Okay, anyway, so check. Grade 7. Okay, ang baby pa. Pero very good. Thank you for joining us. Para at least sabihin mo kay Mami lahat ng naging details ng meeting po. Ano? Okay, so and then I will see you again in our vault in. Okay, and always be active in the chat group para makasali ka sa lahat ng mga activities. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Arsen. Sino pa po yung may tanong bago po tayo mag-final ending po? Wala naman po. Okay, so yung final announcement po, magkakaroon po tayo ng mga clubs by next school year. Yeah, thank you, anak. Yan. For taking down notes. So meron tayong mga clubs for next school year. Check niyo po yung ating website para makita niyo po. Those are clubs that are workable in this kind of situation kasi hanggat wala pa po tayong face-to-face interaction, hindi po ako makakapag-open ng mga theater clubs, hindi po ako makakapag-open ng mga merong mga or anything to do with sports. So yung mga nakalagay po doon na mga clubs tulad ng Young Writers Club, meron pong Young Chefs, yung mga pwede pong gawin online at pwede pa rin using Zoom and other online platforms po. Pero yun po, magiging open po siya by next school year kasi yung period of adjustment po namin talaga, ito po. Tapos ngayon no, yan yung mga officers natin, they're being trained to lead. At the same time, we can assign advisors tulad ni Teacher Alet to handle some of the clubs po. Yun lang naman po. Ano pa ba? We're also going to publish our newsletter. Our officers are working on that. Maraming salamat po sa mga nag-respond sa kanilang mga interviews at nag-answer ng kanilang mga questionnaires to gather data from you. So, ito po yung kanilang mga ginagawang mga articles. They base it on your responses. Now, with regard to may mga nagtanong po kasi na high school kung applicable sa inyo po yung booklet, quarterly study booklets. Okay, susunod po siya kasi right now tinatapos po is from grade 1 to grade 6. So yung grade 7 to 10 po yung susunod na gagawin. Ito yung quarterly. Please check the website so you can read about it. Para dun po sa mga gustong mag-cut ng time sa mga research like so. Pero sa high school po kasi talagang mas marami po kayong options and sources of materials mas maganda. Kasi po, mas malawak na po dapat yung inyong reach. Pero, yung mga, at least for the 5 major subjects, isusunod po yun nila Professor Marge at saka po yun ng ating mga writers natin. Hindi lang po nila ma-promise kung mapuproduce po nila by June or July. Ayan. So, any more questions po? Ayan, so maraming salamat po sa pagbibigay po ng oras para sa meeting na ito. Thank you so much and we thank God for this wonderful opportunity to be together. Uh, we will see you again in the next Zooming in meeting, either end of February or first week po ng March. Okay, para po sa ating mga details na po yan po sa ating um, moving up ceremony and recognition day. Ayun po. Okay, thank you so much. Again, pag meron pong tanong na hindi pa po natanong, uh, please feel free to message any of us. Ating pong advisors, sila Teacher Hazel, Teacher Alet, Teacher Joby, ako po, Teacher Joy, Teacher Kay, at si Teacher Angie. Ayan po kami. Yung mga, pag ano po sa technical aspect po, hanapin niyo po si Teacher Amber. Okay po, thank you po. Maraming salamat po. Thank you, Teacher Joby. Thank you, teachers. UCLA teachers, maraming salamat. Teacher Hazel, Teacher Alet,
Thank
maraming
you.
salamat po. Gab, thank you. And the other officers present, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Teacher Len and Teacher Joby. Excited kami sa writing class and speech class.
Yay! Ako din.
Sabi ni Iya, pwedeng February na.
Oo nga, hindi March pa March. May writing pa tayo eh.
Kaya pa.
Ah,
Salamat po.
okay, bye-bye. Thank you. Yan pa si Iya and Faye. Thank you.
Thank you rin po.